How good is Joe Burrow, and is this defense a top 10 material? We'll dive into it in our film review with Bengals Sans next.
You are Locked On Bengals, your daily Cincinnati Bengals podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Oh, I see. It's funny when I'm dancing on my own. What up, and welcome in to another edition of the Locked On Bengals podcast. No Jake Liscow today because, well, he's traveling. See, he lives in Canada, and it takes a long time to get to Cincinnati, but he's going to be arriving late Tuesday night for a special event Wednesday. I hope you join us at the Blind Pig on 3rd Street downtown, starting at 7. Not only do we have a couple Bengals tickets to give away, and today's guest and our contributor, Bengals Sans, is going to be there along with Joe Goodberry and a bunch of others, including myself. But we also have Uno, Jamar Chase, Mr. 4 touchdowns in 3 games, an autographed ball courtesy of Emily Parker in the Bengals public relations department that we're going to give away to you if you're there, but you got to be there to win it. So show up. But yeah, that's where Jake is. But like I said, it's a film review day. So let's dive into it on a short week with Bengals Sans. And Mike, let's start with Joe Burrow. Let's start with the guy that has everyone excited about what is hopefully a team on the rise. And I think there are a lot of people that are certainly buying that after their 2-1 start. As far as Burrow, when you went back and you watched the film Sunday, what stood out the most about his game?
I think the thing we talked about last week where he just only spun left to try to avoid pressure wasn't there. One specific play, well, there's the obvious one where they had a free runner, they had Riley Reef in a 2-for-1, and he did the spin, he juked out another guy, and he ended up gaining like 8 yards on 3rd and 10, but then they had called a hold on Jonah for not letting his quarterback die. But there was that play, and that was like the big one. But the thing that stood out to me, and this was also called back for a holding penalty, but Trey Hopkins was against Cam Hayward one-on-one. Hayward beats him. Hopkins kind of holds him just so he doesn't hit Burrow. Burrow just slightly slides a little bit left, steps up in the pocket. It kind of looks like I thought he was going to run at first, and then he resets his feet and fires a ball to Auden Tate, which would have been about a 15-yard gain. Wiped away by penalty, but it's something that I saw and went, okay, he looks like he feels more comfortable in the pocket, because that was something last year. Once in a while you'd try to do too much, have a lapse, something like that. But one of the things coming out was this guy is like a veteran in his pocket presence and movement. So that really stood out to me. And after the first 2 passes, which were pretty errant throws, the one went long to Tyler Boyd on the corner route, and the other one was intercepted because it was a little too high. I mean, he was dropping dimes. The throw to Chase was perfect, just right where only he could get it, like perfectly in stride. And then there was a ball Tyler Boyd dropped, a post in between the 2 safeties with a linebacker underneath, and he just put it in the perfect spot for him. I mean, really not a super easy catch because you're surrounded by so many guys, but I mean, it takes guts to take that throw, first of all, and then to make it was just awesome.
And he gave Boyd a shot. I know the exact play you're talking about. And Boyd was so frustrated afterwards. He punched the turf in the ground, and I feel sorry for his hand and the turf when he does that, because that's something Boyd does when he's frustrated. By the way, I don't think, because I was so excited about our event on Wednesday, I don't think I introduced myself. Anyways, I'm James Rapien. So if you're new to the Bengals Locked On Bengals podcast, he's Mike Santagata, Bengals Sans, and Jake Liscow, our other co-host, is not here today. He'll be back with us on tomorrow's show. But yeah, I thought Burrow was impressive, and it's crazy. He talked on Tuesday with the Thursday game. Everything's bumped up. So he talked on Tuesday, which is normally an off day for the Bengals. And he was like, look, when you have to throw it 60 to 65 times, and he had 61 pass attempts last year, week 2 against the Browns, he was like, you're probably not winning that game. He was like, when you're only throwing 18 times, that means you're probably winning the game. And that's the other thing to me is, yeah, he can air it out, but he's comfortable doing exactly what he did against the Steelers, which is kind of controlling the game, taking his shots when needed. And that to me is sort of a rare trait in a quarterback, especially a young quarterback.
It's something that'll, I mean, I hesitate to make the comparison, but I just mean in the style of being okay with running the ball and only throwing just a few passes to win. I mean, it's kind of, the Tom Brady thing that he got the game manager label for. He got the game manager label for that, but it's just controlling the game, making perfect passes and winning. I mean, it's what it took to win the game, and no need to throw 30 times and risk yourself up to hits. Keep the arm fresh. You got to play in 4 days.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. And the defense, on the other hand, they weren't fresh and they had to play a ton of snaps, and we'll get into that coming up. But while we're still on the topic of Burrow, his top target, and I don't think people, especially after the preseason, thought Jamar Chase was going to be his top target. Clearly he has been. From a production standpoint, Chase with 11 receptions for 220 yards, 4 touchdowns, averaging 20 yards per reception. What has impressed you most about the rookie, specifically last week or on Sunday, rather, against the Steelers?
If you don't press him and jam him at the line, he is, I don't know about elite, but so good already. I mean, that's where he's scoring all these touchdowns. The 3 touchdowns came on the 989 concept doubles, where it's 2 go routes on the outside and a post in the middle. I mean, it's digits for 989. That's what those routes are. But on that go route, if he doesn't get jammed or pressed at the line, he just gets into their blind spot, stacks them. And I mean, it's just unstoppable. It seems he's beaten Breland on it. Whoever that Chicago corner, Vildor or something, got him. And that was really cool that he was going and got him so convinced that the ball was going to be downfield that him and Jackson end up crashing into each other as he just stops on like 1 foot and just comes inside to catch it. And then this week he had James Pierre or something. I don't know.
Sounds right.
Yeah, sounds right. Their 4th corner or whoever it was. He was on him, didn't press him. He's playing off coverage because it's the end of the half, and he's saying, okay, you're not going to beat me deep. So, okay, I will. Just gets into his blind spot, gets around him, and just perfectly tracks the ball and makes the catch. That's what's really impressed me the most, was his deep ball, which expected. His deep ball ability is what impressed me the most, which is also what impressed me the most in college.
Sure, no doubt. And the thing that's crazy about that play is specifically that one, and I need to go back and watch the other deep balls because that was a 34-yarder. Obviously, he had the 42-yarder and the 50-yarder against Minnesota. But when Burrow releases that ball, Pierre, the cornerback, has, like, he's not even beat past the cornerback at all. I mean, he's probably a yard the other way of the cornerback, excuse me. So the acceleration he has, and you're right, his ability to track the ball. And then I think it was Matt Waldman. I don't know. Jake, I think it was Waldman, showed me it was like a detailed breakdown of that play. And Chase caught it with his palms. And if you're watching on YouTube, like, he catches it like that just because he's so stretched out. He doesn't get his fingers on it and he pins it. And so, one, yeah, that isn't the best technique in the world. But 2, can you imagine trying to catch an NFL football with your palms like that while you're running and not throwing it into the stands? I mean, it's crazy that he held on to that ball.
Well, how sticky are the gloves?
It does help. It does. But come on, man. I mean, it's really impressive. It was insane.
For somebody who couldn't catch the ball with any part of his hands in the preseason, that's really impressive that now he can't drop the ball.
Yeah. I mean, so
I thought that ball was coming out when I saw it live. I was like, oh, man, almost got him. And it's like, oh, he held on. I don't know how he did that. So.
Yeah. And when you see the slow-mo and the zoomed-in part of it, it makes it that much more impressive. All right, we're just getting started here on Locked On Bengals. He's Bengals Sans, and every week we go in the trenches with the former offensive lineman. And hey, it's true. You played. You played. So we're gonna label it that way because you have your offensive line report card. We will get to that next right here on Locked On Bengals. But first, a word from BetOnline.ag, because look, the Bengals are favored on Thursday night football, and maybe you like them, or maybe you think Jacksonville's going to keep it close. Either way, if you're wagering on the game, or Well, let's be honest. It's probably best if you do. You're going to be watching the game anyway. Might as well make some money while you do it. Check out BetOnline because they're the number one spot for all your pro and college football action this season. Plus, maybe you think Jamar Chase is going to make an offensive rookie of the year push. They got you covered at betonline.ag. And right now, you can sign up today and get some free money with promo code NFL100. You're going to get a 100% welcome bonus on your first deposit. They're doubling your first deposit for free with promo code NFL100. Take advantage of this opportunity right now. Don't delay. Go to betonline.ag and get on the action. Get in on the action this Thursday night. BetOnline, your online sportsbook experts. And today's episode also brought to you by Get Upside. Look, you've heard us talk about Get Upside for a few weeks now, and it's because it's convenient, it's easy, and it's going to save you money at the pump. We're all about saving you money here on Locked On Bengals, whether it's a simple promo code or it's an app that you can download for free in the App Store if you have an iPhone, or Google Play for Android. All you got to do is download the Get Upside app, use promo code Touchdown, and you're going to get 50 cents cash back on your first fill up. It's that simple. You're not spending money to get this discount on gas. You're filling up anyways, so you might as well add it to your smartphone and save money very easily. Again, Get Upside, download it in the App Store or on Google Play if you have Android, and use promo code Touchdown to save money. All right, Mike, let's dive into the offensive line, the play in the trenches. And we highlighted Jackson Carman a bit, and the All-22 wasn't out. Jake looked at the TV copy, but he had a bunch of notes, and we talked about him. So let's start there. When you watched Jackson Carman in his first NFL start, what did you think of his performance?
Sorry, I was on mute.
You're
it
good.
was up and down, but it's a rookie, so there's a grain of salt that comes with it, and it's not like he struggled a ton with everything. The main thing I thought he struggled with is he really struggles sustaining his blocks in the run game specifically. And it looked like it came from some bad hand placement. He'd have a hand on the outside of somebody's shoulder pad, and that's not doing anything for you. And sometimes that also hurts you because the defender can put his hands into your chest, and now you are the one that's being controlled and not the other way around. So that's something he has to clear up. But I mean, that's something a lot of rookies have to clear up. I mean, I remember when I went through all the rookie prospects, and I was like, this guy needs to work on his hand placement. Sewell was a guy, he need to work on his hand placement because it's something you're not as precise. The more reps you get, the more precise you'll get at that. So there was that. He whiffed completely on a counter play and fell down, kind of ruined the whole play on his own, but it happens. It's happened to me. But in pass protection specifically, I don't even think he was challenged that often. Sorry, I think I cut you off. I just want to say that I don't think he wasn't challenged that often. He only had one lapse, and that was a mental thing where it looked like the offensive line was sliding to the left. The center was moving. Center moved right actually, and he looked like he was trying to make it a 4-man slide to the left and leaving Reef all alone. But there were two guys over Reef. You can't. That's just, you can't do that to him. He can't take both, and that's
Sure.
the play that Burrow made all the guys miss, and then holding call. But yeah, I thought if I'm gonna give like a grade on it, it's probably like a C-, D+, where it's there's promise there, but it's not. He didn't look like, oh my goodness, like we had. If he was 30 years old along with Xavier Su'a-Filo, I think we'd be like, yeah, I mean, there's some more stuff to like here, but it's not like a clear upgrade. It's kind of similar, but when you have him being like 21 or 22, it's like, but he can improve this year and he can keep getting better.
Gotcha. So you would stick with Carman and see what he could do even when Xavier gets healthy. That makes sense. I agree with you there. So how much can he improve? And is it as simple as reps? Because the Bengals played on Sunday. They're not going to get many practice reps, really any practice reps in this week. It'll be a lot of walkthrough stuff. And then Thursday, he's going to be expected to go out there and continue to develop and continue to play at, at least a competent level.
Yeah, it's mostly reps to me and experience. He had the issue with the pass protection, just a different call. And that just comes with experience, gelling, communication. And then the main thing that happened that was an actual problem is just sustaining blocks, and that just comes with reps. So I don't know if it'll be a ton better against Jacksonville. Probably be more of the same since it's such a short week. But I don't think – can you name a Jacksonville defensive tackle? Because even the ones that were there last year seem to be gone, like Avery Jones, and I can't think of any.
Defensive ends, I can. You can do Josh Allen, Caleb Von Chase on a defensive tackle without looking at our lats. No, or one of those services, I can't. So, that's a good point. And, hopefully that bodes well for him so he can get those reps. So when he does have to deal with those defensive tackles that we will know regularly and do have that name recognition that he's ready for it. All right, let's continue with the offensive line grades for week 3. Let's go to the other guard. Let's stay on the interior. What'd you think of Quentin Spain's performance?
It was not as good as the past 2 weeks, but he wasn't a disaster. He wasn't an F. It was similar to Carman, the C- range, where they were like, They're passable, they're fine, but they're not. There's room for improvement, and this comes with the grain of salt that he played the most snaps, I think, against Cam Hayward. So that's clearly the best member on that defensive front.
For sure. Yeah.
So he's grading at like a C- D+, but it was against really tough competition. So I kind of understood it. It was mostly things that stood out to me where he got beat bad once, and Hayward did not do the Akeem Hicks and level Burrow, but he did still kind of get there and put a hand on him. And that's the main one that's sticking out to me that's really bad. And then on the other end, he had a good rep with Trey Hopkins, who I think is around the same range, C-, D+. I don't know. Him or Carman was Trey or Carman were probably one of the worst linemen that was there, but none of them were terrible. I'm just kind of moving over to Trey now.
No, that's fine. No, go ahead. I was going to ask you about Trey next, so go ahead.
Awesome.
So what'd you think of Hopkins?
Well, it just feels like he doesn't fully have his legs under him yet, where he doesn't seem like he's playing with as much confidence as he did last year. And I think part of that is he's not fully trusting his leg yet. And we saw that with Burrow just last week, where it seemed like he wasn't fully trusting his leg yet. So I think that's going to come over time. But yeah, I don't know. He had the holding penalties. He got beat a few times by Cam Hayward. Wasn't a disaster. Like, none of them were disasters. That's the main positive, is that nobody was terrible. Which we can't say that about most games, I think, last year. So he's somebody that'll get better over time, but again, he's another like C-, D+. So I guess all 3 interior were around that range to me.
Gotcha. All right. So let's go to both tackles now, and you start with you could start with Riley and then jump to Jonah.
Riley was probably the worst of the 2 tackles, but it was more of he did fine, and I thought Jonah did well. Jonah would probably be the only solid B I'd give out for this week, and Riley was more around a C, but like a solid C. Like, there's nothing that was too bad from him on film, but he didn't have any plays. Like, Jonah had a few plays that were like, whoa, like, look what he just did. So Riley was more like, it's solid play, it's fine. He got beat where he got expected to get beat on a 2-on-1, things like that. But he won where you'd expect him to win, getting in good placement on wide zone and not letting whoever was rushing over him beat him. And sometimes that was Melvin Ingram, who I think still has some juice. He can really use his speed to power into guys. On the other end, Jonah, I said he's a B. He had one rep on wide zone that was awesome, where he's on the cutoff, he's on the backside, and he creates the hole for Mixon. He's facing, I guess I could show the audience on YouTube, but he's kind of like facing this way, blocking down, and the guy tries to kind of go around his back, and he turns his body while moving, not falling over, coordinated guy, and able to push him back to create just a tiny hole off his backside. It was really cool to see. And he also held up against Cam Hayward in their only one-on-one opportunity that I saw for about 6 seconds. So, yeah, that was the play. That was the play to chase at the end, towards the end of the game. But yeah, one-on-one opportunity. They brought 5, and I mean, all 5 linemen did great on that play. And specifically, he was one-on-one with Cam Hayward, and he actually sustained the bull rush, which I guess was a little bit of a question of, can he take on powerful guys? And, well, he's taken on a 320-pound defensive tackle trying to maul him over. So I'd say he did a good job.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to ask you one more protection question. We'll do that next, along with a look at the defense as our film review continues here on Locked On Bengals. But let's tell you about Built Bar, the number one protein bar on the planet. And if you haven't heard me talk about Built Bars yet, well, get ready, because it's something. And our listeners that have heard me know how much I love Built Bars. I swear by them. Had them long before they were a sponsor of the show, but we're certainly excited that they are sponsoring Locked On Bengals. Look, no matter what diet you're on, you could use a snack, a midday snack that's packed with protein, low in sugar, low in calories. Well, that's Built Bar. And the best part, they taste great. They're covered in 100% chocolate. So they fit your macros. They have a bunch of different flavors, 9 different flavors, including cookie dough right now. Cookie dough. Yeah. I got one, a box of those. It's a limited edition flavor. So take advantage of that right now. All you have to do is go to BuiltBar.com. It's that simple. Go to BuiltBar.com, use promo code LOCKED15. You're going to get 15% off your first order. So go there now, check out everything they have to offer, and save a little bit of money when you make that first order with promo code LOCKED15 at BuiltBar.com. All right, Sans, one last protection question for you, because, a lot was made of the Bengals breaking the Steelers streak of 75 straight games with a sack. And that's huge, right? And I do think Burrow stayed clean. You gave an example, that chase touchdown. I mean, that's awesome that he was able to make it to his 5th read. That being said, you gave out a bunch of C minuses, Ds, and your highest grade in your offensive line report card was a B. So how were the Bengals from an overall protection standpoint? Because clearly the offensive line wasn't great. That's fair to say. So why were they able to keep Burrow clean? Was it him? Was it, the right protection reads with the running backs? What was it?
Some of it is that it didn't feel like Pittsburgh tried a lot of the Minnesota, Chicago, look one way, blitz the other, blitz from depth, do all that kind of stuff. They like to bring 4 or 5. And when they brought 5, there'd be a stunt, but it wouldn't be, it's secretly this safety or this slot corner that's coming. So I think that was the main issue in the first 2 weeks with protection. Because if you look back, there was a free runner that Mixon missed that came from depth. There's a guy off of the right side after a protection change, things like that, more so than, other than the Trey Hopkins 2 plays against Michael Pierce, not too many one-on-one, just this guy got beat bad type things. So they held up long enough. And I think Burrow's the type of quarterback that if your offensive line does, where I have them around C minus type, I won't say D, but around a C minus, he makes them look like C plus B minus. He moves them up about a full letter grade. So
gotcha.
I actually think Mixon's kind of the same way as a running back, where he makes you right more often than he will mess up and make you look bad.
That makes sense. The two Joes carrying things. All right, let's switch gears. Let's talk about Lou Anarumo's defense that's gotten off to such a great start, and they got after Ben early and often. How impressed are you with this defensive line and what they did, not only against Pittsburgh, but throughout the year when you go back and you watch the film?
I get so excited to watch the defensive line. I think that's the biggest compliment, is that I'm like, oh boy, let's see what DJ Reader did on this play, or Larry Ogunjobi, what do you do here? And I just look basically on every pass. I'm like, did anybody get close? Let me look for that when I look at the end zone angle. So that's really cool. I think the pressures are well designed, and that's something I wouldn't say last year. So I don't know if that is new addition Marion Hobby, or if that is Lou Anarumo had more time, or maybe a combination. He's got better players for it. But I think of one play specifically for the pressure designs. The Bengals came out in a three down linemen and then 3 off-ball linebackers behind them. But one of the off-ball linebackers was Sam Hubbard. He was in the middle. So they bring all 6 guys, but they slant the nose to the right, and the defense is right. It doesn't matter. And they slant one of the ends, the left end, the same way to the right. and he loops around them and gets a free hit. And that's actually the play Logan Wilson got his interception, was pressure designed that Sam Hubbard came clean on. And I was looking for that so much last year because I think Sam Hubbard's a great looper type. He's a guy that he changes direction well. He's pretty athletic for a defensive end, outside linebacker type. And I think he does a great job of getting to the quarterback and hitting him. So I like bringing him on that and then using it in such a creative way, like a 3-man game. I don't think I saw that at all last year. This year, I've seen it. That wasn't the first time I've seen it, but that was one of the best ones I've seen. Cool, different type things.
You mentioned Logan Wilson, and probably the biggest surprise, maybe the biggest surprise on this defense. I mean, the fact that he's leading the NFL in interceptions after 3 weeks, certainly a surprise. What is the most impressive thing on film? Because we see the interceptions, but you're looking at this more in depth. Most impressive thing about him through the first 3 weeks of the season.
He does a great job of reading the quarterback and reading his eyes when he gets into like a zone drop, or even in these pressure situations. He likes to do something that I also like. It's hitting the offensive lineman. If you get picked up and you're not going to make it, you know how Carlos Dunlap used to just kind of wait there and get his hands up. Logan Wilson kind of disengages, backs up, reads the quarterback eyes, and tries to get into a window. And that's how he's gotten 2 of his interceptions. The other one was just an amazing catch.
Yeah, it was.
That was really impressive. It might be the best catch a Bengal has made this year. But, well, I guess the palm catch is also – we'll have to see him back to back and see which one was more impressive, the diving backwards one hand or the palm catch. So that's what's really impressed me is his ability to instinctually know the quarterback. I'm not going to get there. Let me read his eyes, get into the window, and get my hands on this ball.
Last thing, and as we record this, it's Tuesday evening. The Bengals haven't even practiced yet on Tuesday. But if Chido can't play, Chidobe Awuzie, how big of a loss is that going to be? Even if Trey Waynes does come back, how big of a loss is that for this defense?
He's clearly been the best corner in coverage.
No doubt.
I thought he did a fantastic job on Allen Robinson last week. And this week, I thought he did pretty well, though he had that pass interference in, 3rd and 16 or something. That was a little rough. Yeah. But that was like his first mistake that I noticed was like, oh, that's bad. Even things where like Allen Robinson's dropped go ball was like, Cheeto's right there. He made it hard on him. It's not like he had.
That's part of it. Yep.
Yeah. He's not like he had 3 yards on him. He forced the perfect throw from a rookie quarterback who made it, but then you have to make the catch too. And it's not an easy catch. You have to keep running, fall down while you're catching it. That's not easy. I think it's a huge loss if Trey Waynes can't go, but I think Trey Waynes is going to go. So I think it's like a minor loss. I did think coming in, and I haven't seen Trey Waynes play for the Bengals yet. I thought Chidobe Awuzie was actually the better cornerback looking at him in Dallas versus Trey Waynes in Minnesota. I think they're different, completely different. Trey Waynes likes to be physical, and Cheeto, he doesn't get as physical. He's more, I'm going to stay in this guy's hip. I'm going to be on him all the way down the field. Trey Waynes is, I'm going to jam the heck out of you and knock you off of your path, and I'm going to go get involved in the run game too. He's kind of a Mike Hilton type, but faster. So it's a little bit of a loss. The Jags have pretty good receivers. Specifically Chark and Jones, I think, are good, especially down the field too. So I would love to have 2 like solid cornerbacks out there. Eli Apple played pretty good last week though. He didn't have any plays where he was beaten by 4 yards or anything like that, or pushing a guy out of bounds when the ball's out of bounds. I don't know. Nothing like that.
No, I agree. I mean, that's the thing is he's going to probably be relied upon this week, and we'll see. As of now, we don't really know about Awuzie, and I agree with you. I think Wayne's more likely than not, but we'll see. And, who knows with Bates as well with his neck issue. But, I think he'll be able to play, but we'll see. Make sure you follow Mike at Bengals Sans on Twitter. Check out his work at allbengals.com. And that's going to do it for today's episode. For Mike Santagata, for Jake Lisco, who will be here tomorrow in what is our pregame show for Thursday. By the way, again, join us. The Blind Pig Wednesday night starting at 7. We'll be there. So if you're flying into town and you get into CVG at like 8:30 or 9, we'll tweet one of us, but odds are we're still going to be there. So check it out. Mike will be there. I'll be there. Jake will be there. Joe Goodberry will be there, and a bunch of others that I'm not going to say because I don't want them to feel obligated to come, even though they've already committed. So until then, thank you so much for listening to the Locked On Bengals podcast.